I'm Alex from Android Central, and I have a confession to make. I've had the OnePlus 3T for the past month or so, but for most of that time I haven't paid a whole lot of attention to it. The 3T arrived in November running Android Marshmallow, which just felt old and a little kludgy compared to rival phones running Nougat. OnePlus promised the Nougat update by the end of 2016, and it delivered. It delivered on the afternoon of New Year's Eve, but it delivered. So now it's time to give it the proper review treatment on the software that you're going to be using for the foreseeable future. This is our review of the OnePlus 3T, right up to date on Nougat and Oxygen OS 4. Let's dive in. First, a quick primer. The OnePlus 3T is a souped up version of the regular OnePlus 3. It's the exact same size and shape as the older, now discontinued phone, so cases and other accessories will fit just fine. Only external difference is the colour of the new gunmetal grey model, but even that's hard to see unless you have them both side by side. That's the 3T over on the right there, by the way. Although it doesn't necessarily stand out in a sea of black metal rectangles, the 3T looks sharp. The brushed aluminium back feels soft and classy, and the angled edges and slim bezels make it easy to hold for a 5.5-inch device. Speaking of which, the phone uses the same 5.5-inch optical AMOLED panel as before. Despite only being a 1080p panel, it's actually fantastically bright and vivid. By contrast, the insides of the 3T have been upgraded across the board, giving you plenty of new hardware to sink your teeth into. There's Qualcomm's new, slightly speedier Snapdragon 821, same ludicrous 6GB of RAM and a larger 3400 mAh battery. Same base 64GB of storage, but you can upgrade to 128 for an extra $40. And that puts it in the same hardware ballpark as the more expensive Google Pixel for a hell of a lot less money. Other OnePlus staples are along for the ride too, like the choice of capacitive or on-screen buttons, dual SIM support, and the insanely useful mute slider on the top left. But it's the software, Oxygen OS 4 based on Android 7.0, which is really new here. For me, the most important change is the ability to scale the entire interface to your preference, which is great because by default everything is kind of gigantic. And on a related note, Nougat's new information-dense notifications are a big part of what makes me feel more productive on the new version, even when I'm just trolling coworkers. The rest of OnePlus's Oxygen OS 4 sees some minor tweaks from earlier versions. The home screen widget shelf has been revamped a little bit, though it's still not massively useful and doesn't work great with all widgets. The default theme has taken on some blue hues, making it visually closer to Google's Pixel UI and a little bit less Nexus-like. You can of course still use the light and dark themes and tweak your accent colours to your own liking. It's all part of the huge amount of customization that Oxygen OS allows. I already touched on the button options, but as well as the choice between on-screen and capacitive, you can also set long press or double tap shortcuts for all three keys. You can easily declutter your status bar by trimming certain icons, and there are more gesture shortcuts than you'll know what to do with, letting you control everything from the camera to your music. Personally, I haven't really touched much of this stuff myself, but if you're the kind of person that likes to make your phone truly unique to you, this should be pretty exciting. The rest of the software loadout is made up of cleanly designed apps from OnePlus that fit in with the vanilla Android aesthetic. There's nothing too crazy going on here, everything just fits together nicely. More importantly, everything is blazingly ridiculously fast. Touch input has been tuned up in the latest firmware, putting it on par with the Pixel and the iPhone, and thanks to the new F2FS file system, apps load ridiculously fast, not that you'll really need to reload them from scratch very often with 6GB of RAM at your disposal. The new bigger battery is a welcome improvement too, comfortably pushing the OnePlus 3T into that class of phone that you just know can comfortably take you to the end of the day. And if you forget to charge overnight, then Dash Charge, OnePlus's quick charging feature, can juice you up past the 50% mark in well under an hour. That's all great stuff, and so far we're neck and neck with some of the best Android phones out there. So what about the camera? One of the most important features of any phone. Well, you get a 16 megapixel sensor with optical stabilization behind an f2.0 lens. For what it's worth, that lens cover is now sapphire coated, so if you're some kind of monster who keeps their phone and their keys in the same pocket, then you don't need to worry about scratching up the lens. Seriously though, don't do that, that's a really bad idea. Anyway, camera quality. Most of the time, in decent lighting, even indoors, you'll get good looking pictures with accurate colours. OnePlus has some excellent noise reduction software at its disposal too. If you want to bring out fine detail at the expense of a little brightness and colour, the HQ mode will serve you well. Even in challenging conditions like shooting a sunset over a dark cityscape, the 3T blows away just about everything at this price point. But the difference between this and say the Pixel or the GS7 is that in low light you start to run up against physics. The OnePlus 3T can't capture as much light as those phones, and so low light pictures look darker, with colours becoming a little washed out in the process. The HDR mode is also susceptible to ghosting because of the way it works. Even with OIS, you'll need a steady hand to keep things sharp. I don't want to sound like I'm down on the 3T's camera, because I'm really not. There are plenty of less capable Android cameras out there and more expensive phones. But because the rest of the 3T is so good, the camera stands out as an area where its more expensive competitors can pull ahead. Meanwhile, around the front, selfie fans will appreciate an upgrade to a 16 megapixel front-facing camera, although the move to a sensor with smaller pixels seems more like a side grade to me, because you sacrifice a little low-light performance to get that higher resolution. The big picture here is of a phone that punches well above its weight. For $439, there's really nothing that comes close to the OnePlus 3T. And although more expensive rivals outperform it in photography, I'd have a hard time arguing with you if you balked at the $400 premium to step up to something better. The OnePlus 3T builds on what was an excellent mid-priced flagship in the OnePlus 3, and the Nougat update pushes it to new heights, a legitimate rival to Google and Samsung's phones in all but a couple of areas. And for that reason, the OnePlus 3T is a phone that I can enthusiastically recommend. From On the 3T, check out our full review on AndroidCentral.com.